Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of We're Screwed. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr. With me, as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty fucking good. How's everybody doing?
And tonight we have a special guest, Mr. Christopher Hinojosa. I nailed that name, right? I fucking nailed that name. I asked him.
Yes, you
I'll
did.
tell everybody in the audience I cheated. I asked him before we started, how the hell do you pronounce this? So I don't look like a dumbass. So just so you know, I cheated. So I talked about this on Staring a couple weeks ago, I think. A new concept I wanted to try. We've had like movie stars on Staring and musicians and famous people and all that kind of shit. And we have like the conversations, and they're okay. I mean, they're nice people. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not nice people, but most of that is promoting their stuff. You know what I mean? It's the whole reason they're on there is we got a movie coming out or an album coming out, and they want to promote it. So we don't really have in-depth kind of conversations. So I said to old boy, here's a cool idea. Let's just have regular people on and see what the hell happens. Let's have some really cool conversations with people because everybody has a story. I told him, like, when I do speeches and I do events, book signings, stuff like that, I always stay and I sign everything for everybody and take pictures and do the whole thing, right? Because I figure if you drive there to see me, who the hell am I, right? I'm like, I wrote some books, so what? I'm nobody special, you know what I mean? So you came all the way to see me, you paid your money. I'm going to take a picture with you or do whatever the hell you want. Basically, I'll be your dancing monkey for a couple minutes. But the reason I bring that up is some of the best conversations I have is with those people after those speeches and after those signings and everything. So I thought, let's bring on some regular people and let's talk and let's actually have some real conversations for once. And we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to throw over to you, Christopher, and I want you to introduce yourself to the audience and just tell us a little bit about yourself, brother.
All right. Thank you very much, James. And thank you all. And thank you, James and James, for having me on here. That is so weird saying James and James. Let's say J and J, just make
Just
it a
call
whole
me
lot
old
easier.
boy. Just call me old boy.
All right, old boy. Okay. So James and old boy, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a privilege and an honor to be here with y'all. So as James introduced earlier, my name is Christopher Hinojosa, but I go by Chris for short. I like to try to keep everything like just simple to the point because it's just the only time my full name gets used is when my mama's mad at me, and she ain't mad at me right now. And so if anybody calls me by my full name that's not my mama, yeah, I take it personally and I flip a switch really quick. But that's just because, like I said, you got to respect the mama. All right, that's one of those things that's no ands, ifs, or buts about. I'm 45 years old. I've got 4 kids. My oldest is 25. He's on his second year of marriage. My second one is 22, going to be 23 next month. He just graduated college, so he's doing really good. And then I have twin sons who just started their senior year in high school. So I'm very proud. They're the last. They're the last of my 4 kids. And then once they're done, of course, that'll be it. I'm from Texas. I'm Native American, Christian, Norse. Uh, I'm a regional founder and grand strategist for the Grand Order of Fate. If y'all seen it on TikTok, that's one of the groups that I belong to. Currently working at a call center. Some people call it a dead end job, but I like it because I get to talk to people all day, every day, from different walks of life, different backgrounds. And it's really great because the best thing about my job is that when I get to talk to them, it's like they actually I feel connected to them and they feel connected to me because it's like you said, talking to regular people, just getting to know them. And, you learn a whole lot about people when you talk to them. And I'm just like, so it's a pretty good job, but that's pretty much me in a nutshell. My hobbies, I love to play music. Guitar and bass guitar, like are my main instruments. I learned how to play violin, violoncello, and bass all the way through junior high. But I started off by playing guitar and piano before I picked up everything: the violin, the viola, the cello, and the bass in orchestra. So that's pretty much it. I've got 2 older sisters, an older brother. My dad's been past 11 years already, so I still miss him. But other than that, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I mean, I got not That's pretty much me. I mean, if there's anything else y'all want to know about me, I mean, by all means, I'm an open book. Just ask me any questions, and I'll be more than happy to tell you.
People that work in call centers are special kind of people, and I want to explain what I mean by that. I used to work in a call center for DirecTV back many moons ago, back when I was a youngin'. And you'd sit there with your script and you'd go, "Hi, my name is James with DirecTV. I'm calling to see if you'd like to subscribe to the blah blah blah." And you go through your whole spiel. And the one thing that for me it was almost like how they say like cops have gallows humor because they see like horrible things and everything. It was almost like that, but not quite. But we don't see horrible things, but we would hear. I mean, people would like cuss us. I used to have this one old lady who, for whatever reason, her number would show up like once a month on the list to call. And you'd call her, and it was always during dinner time because it was 5 to 7 was the shift that you worked, right? So it's when people were getting home and then they're making dinner and eating dinner. And every month I would call this old lady at dinner time, and she would cuss me like a damn sailor, man. I ain't never heard language that bad as I heard this little old lady. And I just pictured her looking like one of the Golden Girls or something, like this little old lady, because she was old as hell, you could tell, because she would tell you, "I'm 85 years old. I don't want you calling my damn house," right? And instead of just hanging up, like a lot of people would just be like, "Nah," and just hang up, right? And you're like, "Cool, move on with your day," because then you can go to another call because you make your money with commission in that job. I don't know what your job is, but in that job you would make it with commission. You get like a base pay that was next to nothing, but for every sale you would get a little percentage. So that's how you would make your money. So you hope that if people don't want to talk to you or they're not interested, they just cuss you and hang up immediately. That's what you're hoping for, because then you can get the volume of calls out, right? You can keep rocking it. But this little old lady wouldn't do that because, like, old people want to talk anyway. And she would keep me on the phone for a good 10 minutes cussing me and just saying horrible stuff about me. You know what I mean? "I hope you get hit by a bus, you piece of shit." I mean, just cussing me like you wouldn't believe, bro. And it was funny because I would never hang up on her. Not because it was against company policy to hang up. Like, if somebody starts cussing you, you're allowed to just hang up on them, right? No big deal. But, like, I'm from the South. I'm a Southerner. And we respect our elders. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to hang up on this old woman. I'm going to give her the respect that I did interrupt her dinner. So if she wants to cuss me, she has the right to cuss me. I'm going to sit there and take it like a man. So I would sit there, and I shit you not, brother, sometimes 10, 15 minutes, she would be just going on and on and on. And I'd be like, "Ma'am, are you sure that you want to keep talking to me? I thought you were having dinner. Your dinner's going to get cold." Trying to get the hell off the phone so I can move on. But she would just cuss me and cuss me and cuss me. And then there was a stretch of like 2 or 3 months where her number didn't come up on my list anymore. And I thought, that's weird. I wonder why it's not coming up, because it always comes up. So then it came up again, like 3 or 4 months difference between the calls, right, that I had made. And so I called her, and she goes, "Well, I thought you done given up on me. I thought you thought I died. You haven't heard from you in 3 or 4 months. I'm still here." And then she cussed me again for another 10 minutes. It was a beautiful thing. So when I say there's special people that work in call centers, man, because they have like the toughest skin on earth. And for somebody who's in the public eye, that's an important thing. If you do YouTube or Spotify or TikTok or anything like that, you got to have a tough ass skin, because people say some outlandish, out of pocket shit in the comment section, man. I've had more death threats than I can even imagine death threats. And like old boy said before, I've had people actually show up at my house, not trying to hurt me, but like banging on my front door. And I go to the door and I'm like, "Yeah, what do you need?" And they're like, "I just wondered if you could sign this book for me." And I'm like, "You really came here? You came to my house?" Like, I don't live in a city. I don't live like even in a town. I live on a mountain. Like, when I say on here I live in the mountains, I'm not bullshitting. I live in the fucking mountain. Like, you got to go through some trees and shit to get to me. Like, there's not even a regular road. You got to go like a gravel road to get to my house. You know what I mean? I live out there. And it's like, first of all, how the hell did you find me? And second of all, why is that important that you come all the way up here? That just is crazy. So I signed it, took pictures and everything, because I ain't trying to get shot. I didn't have my pistol on me. It was upstairs. And I'm thinking, if this person come all the way up here looking for me, it must be a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So I'm going to go and sign whatever the hell I need to sign. But do you run into stuff like that with your job? I don't know if you do like a telemarketing kind of sales job, or if you have like a help center for people to call you, or how it works. But do you get people that hang up on you and cuss you and give you hell?
Okay, so no, and damn, for people to come up to your door, you know, living out in the sticks and people coming to your door just for an autograph or a picture. Dang, you got some devoted fans out there. So no, so basically we have the call center that I work for, we have a contract with certain companies. So it wasn't like it's not directly the company that I work for. I work for a call center and they have the contract for this certain company. And of course we have, because we can't say the call center name when we answer the calls, we have to answer as the contract that we're working for. So these people, we never get to meet them because since it's a call center job, they don't know where we live, and we know where they live because they give us their information and we have it right there in front of me. And yes, you are right. If you're gonna work in a call center, you do have to have like a tough skin, and you have to have a strong like mental fortitude, because these people, like you said, they will cuss you out. They make sailors blush time and time again. Like you said, you'll hear some things that you're like, wow, is that even possible to say stuff like that? You know, but the way I see it is, yes, you have to have a mental toughness, because you got to understand that they don't know you, you don't know them, you don't see them at all, so you can't take it personally. I mean, it's just because at the end of the day, you're gonna go home and you still got your family, bills, you got everything else that you got to take care of. So of course it's no sweat. So I don't worry about it. But I will admit, I've only been working at this call center for about 4 months already, and there has been about 2 or 3 customers that really got under my skin. And normally I'm the most chill guy. I can take things, no problem. I can handle it. And it was a good thing I was muted when I made some of these comments, because it was just one of those days that this lady happened to catch me on a bad day, because we all have bad days, we can all agree with that. So this lady, I was talking to her and I was trying to tell her everything what was going on, and she kept on interrupting me. And then she has the audacity to tell me you need to quit interrupting me when I'm talking, because I'm trying to let you know. And I'm like, ma'am, you're the one who's interrupting me, and I'm trying to tell you what's going on. And so she kept going, and she like kept pushing my patience. So I hit the mute button. And honest to God, I said that if I was not muted, I would not be working today. I said, "Oh, lady, if you don't shut your mouth, I will slit your throat and watch the dust fall out." That's how mad she got me. And I was just like, oh my gosh, why did I let this old lady get to me? I don't know her. She doesn't know me. I'm not going to ever see her, but it's just one of those days, it was a bad day for me. And she was just one of those that wanted to try it. And then a couple of weeks later, I had another person call in, and I'm one of those guys that when it comes to being like with honor and integrity, those are the two things that I hold really true, especially when I'm doing my job, because I've learned, in the short time that I've been there, I've learned my job very well. And, and for somebody to sit there and tell me over the phone that I'm lying, like this guy just started like getting very belligerent. And I was like, sir, if you don't stop, I'm going to disconnect this call. And he's like, oh, you only want to disconnect the call because he's lying. And I'm just like, oh man, that's the one thing you never do. You never tell me that I'm lying, especially with what's going on. And I was just like, at the end of the call, I just threw my headset down on the desk, and I was just like shaking really bad because he got to me. And I'm just thinking, why did I let them get to me? It's just a job, So yeah, I understand. You have to have a special mental fortitude, because that they say that working call centers is the number one most stressful job, in the US. That is the number one high stress job that you can have. So if you're not prepared to sit there and take it and still have to be nice to people over the phone, yeah, it's gonna be it's you're gonna lose your job right away. So, and going back to my first call center job that I worked for another call center, but we were contracted with DirecTV. So when you were talking about DirecTV, and I'm like, okay, but I was doing customer service for DirecTV, so people would call in, and yes, you're right. They have the script that you got to follow. Thank you for calling DirecTV. My name is Chris. How can I help you today? And then, of course, they would tell you what's going on, and then, of course, you'd have to try to sell them like different packages that was available and everything. And so, yeah, you heard a lot of things, and the craziest things that I ever heard working for DirecTV is people would call in to order pay-per-view, and they would order triple X pay-per-views. And I had one customer called in that him and his girlfriend, they were in the middle of something. They're oh, I'm gonna put it in very proper terms. They were having coitus when they called in, and they ordered a pay-per-view, and I'm just hearing everything going on, and I'm just like, I am not hearing this. This call is not happening. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I was like, all right. So I got it on there, and I told them, okay, it's gonna be like $8.99 for the pay-per-view and plus tax. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was just like, oh man. So I got them off the phone. I was like, nope. I was like,
Just
never again.
just so you can say whatever you want. This isn't we're hard. We cuss swear, just so everybody knows. We forgot to let him know. Yeah, you can say whatever the fuck you want. It's not TikTok. It's not like, so you could, we have our own stuff, so you're good, bro. I'm just letting you know you could cuss. I gotta go. Sissy's here. I gotta move my car. I'll be right back.
All right. So yeah, so yeah, but I mean, I'm trying. I don't, because I don't know if a younger audience, under the age of 21, watches this. I mean, and I know that a lot of the younger generations are already exposed to a lot of the, all the derogatory terms that and cuss words that are said out there. But I still try to be respectful, of that, because I wouldn't want my kids to be watching a podcast, and then hearing like all these cuss words going on as well,
Yeah,
so
old boy just likes to cuss. Like we were for the longest time, we were on the radio in like 47 countries or something. So we had like FCC rules we had to follow. So we were not allowed to say anything that was not allowed to be over the FCC airwaves. So we had to be very, very careful about what we could say. And now we have, like, we're on a lot of different platforms still, but we don't have to follow the FCC guidelines anymore. So
okay.
since that happened, he's like, "Oh, I get to say dirty words," you know what I mean? And he's like a kid in a candy store. He likes to say dirty words. But I think the reason that telemarketing jobs are so stressful is because people don't like to be hated. You know, that drives
Right.
people crazy. People have this obsession with everybody liking them and validating them. And for the idea that your whole job is calling people, and 90% of the people you call are going to be pissed off that they're talking to you, and they're going to not be nice at all. They're going to be negative as hell toward you. I think that is what really gets people. That's why there's so much turnover in that field, because it's hard. I mean, I've done jobs. I've done fishing jobs. I've done all kinds of different things, and things that are dangerous as hell. But I would put the telemarketing jobs up there at the top, near the top of the list of jobs that are just like, I don't know if I want to do that today. It was fun, but it was like every day you'd go through like a peak and a valley. You know what I mean? At first you start off, it's fun. You're having a good time. You're reading your script. You're goofing off. You're having
Yeah.
fun. And then the negativity starts and the people start hammering you. And by the end of the shift, you're like, God, man, do I want to come back and do this shit again tomorrow? Or do I just want to say to hell with this and go flip burgers or something? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I've been there, man. I've felt that. For me, it's like I've always liked jobs where people left me the hell alone. I'm not somebody that is good at following orders, especially from people that don't know better than me. You know what I mean? That's always driven
Hmm.
me crazy. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's not a humble brag or anything. It's to my detriment a lot of times, is that I don't like taking orders from people. I don't like listening to what somebody tells me I have to do. You know what I mean? I'm big on freedom. I'm big on doing whatever the hell I want. And I've been broke. I mean, I've been like, if I didn't hunt and fish, I didn't eat. Broke. You know what I mean? I grew
Yeah.
up without even plumbing And like my grandparents didn't even have indoor plumbing when I was growing up. We had an outhouse. You know what I mean? I grew up mountain man poor, where I'm out there hunting squirrels and turkeys and deer and fishing in the creek and the river and shit in order to feed us. You know what I mean? So I've had
Yeah.
nothing to where I had to provide for myself from the land. And then I became successful, and now I have a lot, but I'm the same fucking guy I always was. You know what I mean? Like I still go out there and shoot squirrel and shoot deer and stuff like that and eat them. You know what I mean? I'm still the same guy that I always was. And I think that's because it's all the outlook, Like to me, God gives everybody certain gifts, certain things that you can do, that you can do probably better than anybody on the planet can do them. Everybody has something that they're really really good at, and you
Right.
always know what that thing is because you feel it. You feel you're called to do it. Like this is what I'm supposed to do, and the whole life, the devil tries to take that dream away from you. The devil's always sitting there saying, "You ain't got it, man. You can't do it. You're crazy, man. Nobody can do that. That's too hard. That's too big. Don't dream that, man. Don't think you're going to be successful in this, that, or the other thing, whatever it is you want to do, because the odds are against you, man. It's so hard." I spent most of my life working all kinds of different jobs, poor as hell, playing music. I was a singer, bass player, guitar player in multiple bands. That's how I made my living. You know what I mean? I was a forklift driver at the time. My grandfather got cancer, right? Like one of these kind of cancers. It was on his neck, like you see from across the street, right? And he wasn't supposed to live but 2 weeks. They gave him 2 weeks to live. And my grandfather was a hard man. And I say a hard man as a nice way of saying he was a prick. He beat us within an inch of our life, like growing up. You know what I mean? He would hit me with axe handles and shit. This dude was not a nice guy, right? And because of how he was, when he got cancer, nobody really wanted to help him out. Nobody wanted to take care of him because he's an asshole. And he's always been an asshole. He's been terrible to us, And I felt on my heart that God was telling me, look, you need to take care of this man, right? And I'm not going to pretend like I'm the perfect Christian to where when God speaks to me, I listen all the time, because usually I fight it. Usually I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to do that shit. Because like what God tells you to do usually is not what you actually want to do. You know what I mean? It's like the furthest thing away from what you want to do. And I'm like, I don't want to take care of this guy, man. This guy hates me. He won't even barely talk to me, man. We never got along, right? So I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. And then just God keeps hammering me in my heart over and over and over again. You got to do it. You got to do it, right? So finally I submit and I say, okay, I'm going to do what God's telling me to do. I go to my boss. I say, hey, man, look, I need a couple weeks off because my grandfather's got cancer. He's dying. They've only given him a couple weeks to live. And God's telling me I got to take care of this man. So I'm going to need a couple weeks off so that I can see him to the next world. You know what I mean? And my boss is like, nah, you can't have it because we need you. You know what I mean? We can't spare you. So you can't have the time off. And so I'm like, well, dude, then I quit. That's it. I'm out. I got to do this. God's telling me to do it, so I'm out. So I quit my job. Now, I had just gotten married to a woman that is way hotter than I deserve, right? Like, way out of my league. So I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm walking off my job. I got no money. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills. I have no idea how I'm going to do anything, dude. I'm broke as a Joe. And I'm like, fuck, I just walked off my job. How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to take care of this woman? She's going to leave my ass. You know what I mean? You imagine going up to your wife you just married like a month ago and say, hey, by the way, I quit my job to take care of my grandpa. We'll figure it out. But that's the position I was in. I had to do that. So I went and started taking care of this man. I wiped his ass. I cleaned him up. I fed him. I did the whole nine, right? Did everything for this man. He like not talking to me barely at all, other than to cry because he's embarrassed that I have to take care of him, right? And 2 weeks turns into 3 weeks, turns into a month, turns into a month and a half, turns into 2 months, keeps going, right? This dude's not dying. He's not fucking dying, right? And I'm still no job, no money, and I'm still taking care of him, and he's barely talking to me. And I would like mow a lawn here, paint a room here, just all these little odd jobs would come up. Just God would always provide just enough to pay the bills, just enough to get me to the next time, right? So this keeps going and going and going. He ends up going into remission. His cancer goes into remission, and he's not dead. And it's been like almost a year at this point. And because he's not talking to me a lot, something I always wanted to do was write. I always loved writing. It's a passion of mine. I felt that calling on my life that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's one of those careers that the devil tells you constantly you can't make it. It's too hard. The odds of becoming a successful writer, it's not going to happen, dude. You know what I mean? You're blowing smoke up your ass. There's no way it's going to happen, right? That's what the devil tells you. But I got nothing better to do. This dude's not talking to me. I'm sitting around all day bored out of my mind. So I just start writing, And I don't know if you're familiar with my story, but like all my books come from my dreams. I dream this shit every night. So what I do is I write them down. Every morning when I wake up, I write them down because that's the way I found to make them stop coming. If I don't, they keep coming over and over and over again and repeating. So I had all of these spiral notebooks, just like little Walmart spiral notebooks filled with all these dreams. So I thought, I'm going to take the bare bones of that. I'm going to write some cool stories out of it, So that's what I did. I'd spend my time sitting there writing and turning this stuff into books. And that's how I wrote my first novel, I Am Legion. And it got published and wasn't doing a whole, it was doing okay, but it wasn't doing a whole lot. And I would go and do radio shows and stuff like that to promote it. And the whole time I'm still taking care of my grandpa and doing odd jobs, trying to make enough money to pay the damn rent. And then all of a sudden it takes off and it starts selling like gangbusters, and next thing you know, it makes a bestseller list. And I got checks coming in for more money than I've ever seen in my damn life. All of a sudden I can pay my bills. All of a sudden I don't have to worry about that shit anymore. You know what I mean? And then I ended up with 4 bestsellers, one after the other. In 2 years, I wrote 4 bestsellers that were over 400 pages each. And the reason I was able to crank out so much so quick is I had nothing else going on. I'm just sitting there with this man who's barely talking to me. But he ended up living 7 years when he had 2 weeks to live. He ended up getting to see his great-grandchildren grow up a little bit, meeting them. He ended up giving his life to Christ. He ended up becoming a good guy and repaired all of his relationships with his family before he went. You know what I mean? And the reason that I'm where I am now, instead of being a forklift driver, is because I listened to God and did what he wanted me to do, even though I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? And that's a beautiful thing, man. So, you're a guy that just from what you've told me, you've got a lot of cool talents. You know what I mean? You've done a lot of stuff in your life, a lot of cool talents, and I guarantee you there's something in your heart that God's telling you can do this. You know what I mean? This is what you should do. And what I'm here to tell you today is go for it, man. Don't ever let anybody tell you not to do what you want to do or what you dream of, because you can't stop God, brother. You know what I mean? I'm an old broke ass redneck from the mountains eating squirrel brains out of a skull. You know what I mean? And I made it, man. If I can make it, anybody can make it. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. But you also talked about your time on the reservation and stuff like that. You want to go into that a little bit?
Yes. So, I've made it known that, so I'm part of the Apache Nation, and in the Apache Nation, there's like 10 different tribes that make up the entire Apache Nation, and of course, we're all settled in our different areas. So my tribe, which is the Lipan Apaches, where I live in Texas, we settled this area from like just south of the Rio Grande into Mexico, all the way up to like Corpus Christi, San Antonio, going out into West Texas towards El Paso. So this was pretty much our area. So it's not, so we don't have a reservation because, well, when shit kicked off, the land was taken from us, and of course it was colonized by other by the non-native people, and of course by Mexicans, and just pretty much other those were the two main races that but of course we maintained our identity. We and so we're actually working, our tribe, we're working on federal recognition, and the government's making it kind of hard for us to get federally recognized and acknowledged. So but as soon as that happens for us, then of course, we'll get those federal funds. But there's a lot of tribes that are federally recognized that they're doing everything they can to stop us from getting federally recognized, because they know that if we get federally recognized, that's less money that they get, going to them, and they don't want to do that because they're greedy and they've been getting money for a long time, so they just want to keep it all to themselves. And it's like, hey, you know, we're all part of the First Nations people that were settled here before before our land was taken from us. So why not, share the wealth with everybody else? It's but you know what, that's neither here nor there. I mean, that's on them. And so as a Native American, we don't refer to God as God. We call him the creator, because he created everything for us. So we refer to God as creator. And in my tribe, we refer to God as Usen, or Beki Guindan, which is like the giver of breath, the giver of life. So that's how we refer to God in our culture. And then of course, being Christian is God. So yes, so we went to every year there's something what they call the Apache Alliance, and this is where all the Apache tribes get together for a couple of days. I think it's about 2 days. It's a 2-day meeting where they get together and they discuss things, and trying to, form game plans to make the Apache Nation strong again. So I went to the White Mountain Apache Reservation and spent some time there, which was really great. I loved it there. It's in the upper part of it's in the northern part of New Mexico, going in towards Colorado. So they have this huge reservation, like this thing, like they have a sign that says, like when you're getting into it, it says you're entering reservation, at the White Mountain Apache Reservation territory. So our tribe got to meet with them, got to know them. So it was great, and then after spending time there, then we went to the San Carlos Apache Reservation, which is western New Mexico, eastern Arizona. And so we spent time there. They've got it's a pretty big reservation. It's not as upscale. Well, I don't want to say upscale, but it's not as modern as you see most of these towns and everything, but it's not like what you see on most reservations, where everybody lives in like broken down mobile homes, and you got cars all over the, and all around the property and everything like that. But it was nice to be there, get to know them, to meet with that tribe. And then we also met with the Fort McDowell Apaches and the Mesa Verde Apaches, and man, they've got a nice place. The Fort McDowell Apaches, they've got this beautiful resort and casino that is just amazing. I'm just like, man, we got to spend time with them there. Get the resort. It was nice. Like I was like, this was like a pretty nice place. So getting to meet with them, spending time with them, and of course, learning, pretty much exchanging like customs that, for each Apache tribe was a great thing, exchanging information, talking, and learning from each other, because our tribe, we're the last tribe that needs to be introduced, because there's a prophecy that says that when all the Apache tribes come together and they form that one nation, the Apache Nation will rise up and be strong again. So we want to be a part of that. So our tribe is trying to fulfill that. But of course, there are some of the other Apache tribes that are just like, they want to stop that from happening, which is okay, and I understand. Like I said, to each their own. We're not holding it against them, but it's just like, hey, we're trying to learn. We want, help us, so we can help y'all as well. It's like that whole, you scratch our back, we scratch your back. So, but I'm just, so like I said, just being able to spend time, learn about the other tribes that make up the entire Apache Nation. It's just phenomenal. So if you've ever been to a reservation, and you spent time among the tribes, like you just like sit there, observe and listen and just watch. And it's a very beautiful thing. And you're just like, wow, you're just so amazed because you got to think about it that when they were living here, like you said, they had to hunt, they had, to eat, if they didn't hunt, they didn't eat. And if they didn't eat, what happened? They would start to perish, and it's just like seeing all of this in action is great now. But so now we do most of our hunting at local grocery stores and stuff like that, but that's okay. That's it's just a lot quicker just to go hunt at a grocery store, grab the food and come back home and make it instead of going out there on your own, and doing it. But of course, growing up, like you said, your grandfather was a hard man, so yeah, you grew up, so a lot of us grew up differently. So for those of us that grew up without, um we just, we had to do what we had to do to survive. Like you said, it was, go out, hunt, get what you need to eat. If not, you didn't eat that day, and then you just have to wait another day and try it again.
One thing that I loved about my time, I spent a lot of time with the Cherokee. My family is part Cherokee, part Blackfoot, is the two parts, and then the rest of me is like Scottish and Irish and Viking, and so I'm whiter than white. You know what I mean? The percentage of native blood in me is probably very very small. But my grandfather looks more like you than he looks like me. He's not a white guy. You know what I mean? But the time that I got to spend at the powwows and stuff with those guys, and that's how I got into the paranormal is going hunting with them. Some of the stuff they did, but it was beautiful. And what I loved about it was the harmony, the balance with nature. You know what I mean? To not only taking what you need, not just pillaging every damn thing and wiping it all out. There's just a beauty to it. I don't know if you can see, like on the camera, but my wife calls me the white Mr. T because I got so many damn necklaces. But this necklace right here, this was given to
Oh
me
yeah.
by a Cherokee medicine man. We did a sweat lodge ceremony, and then he gave me this, and he said would protect me on hunts and stuff, and as long as I wore this, that I would be safe. You know what I mean? And what's weird about this thing, dude, is I have lost this thing like 3 or 4 times in my life. The last time I lost it, I was in Illinois. That's where I lived, right outside of St. Louis. And I lost it there. And then we moved here to Virginia because we grew up military, so I've been all over the world. And when I got here to Virginia, I was bummed out because I had lost this. And then I was plowing up my front yard to put in a garden at the place when I bought it. And this is going to sound like a complete and total lie. I swear to you, this is the truth. This damn thing was in the ground. I found this in the dirt that I had plowed up. And the last time I had it, I'm not lying to you, was in Illinois. I had lost it there on a hunt. And I was upset as hell. I looked everywhere for it. And here I am plowing my front yard here in Virginia in the mountain. And I'm digging through the dirt, pulling out the grass chunks and the rocks and stuff so that I can plant. And this damn thing is laying in the ground. I thought, oh my God, I found it again. Now, it may be a completely different one. That's what logic would tell you. But I ain't never seen these in stores. I ain't never been able to find one. You know what I mean? He gave me this. And the only other one I've ever found is here in my yard in Virginia. And that was always crazy to me. You know what I mean? But it was a hell of a lot of fun. Google Meet said it's going to cut this call off in like 15 minutes. So what we'll do is hang up. I'll start another one, and we'll come back in if that's cool with y'all. And then when we come back, well, you can ask some questions.
What is up, Misfit Chili's monster lovers and motherfucking demon hunters? It's the prima donna himself, old boy. So, just so you guys know, this show's been going on about 9 years. In October, We're Screwed started. We quit doing it for a while, and we were doing stuff different. We decided to do this, and I talked to Chris, and he wanted to do it, so we got him on, and I'll get more people on like I always do. First thing, Chris, thank you for joining We're Screwed. I really appreciate you coming on here. I know that you're new to this, so I'm glad you came on here. A lot of people get nervous, and you really didn't. So I'm glad about that. And you guys were talking about some stuff earlier, um, having tough skin. That is, man. I would never want to be dealing with people because I can't stand it in the first place. So the way old boy is, you talk to me the way people he gets talked to on the phone. I'm done. I'm probably gonna get fired the first day, probably first 5 minutes, because old boy, even at work, I got to watch my temper. But old boy, still old boy. You call me a certain word, you're gonna wish you didn't. And that's just how he is, and he is, and we don't like being like that. But you're a certain way, and you get in my face, and you even put your hands on me. It's probably a bad move. And it's very and I know how that is because I don't like people touching me. Because when I was a kid, I was abused very bad and beaten. See, I'm a very dark soul. I've had a fucked up life. Um, just because you have money doesn't mean everything's good. I'll just put it that way. When I was a kid, I was the only child. I had a lot of things happen to me. Um, I'll tell you this. That's why I have very tough skin, and that's why I've almost died 3 times. Um, and I won't die. It's weird. I've had pneumonia. I've been hit by cars. I've been shot. But I've been stabbed with pencils. I've had bricks thrown at my head. I've been hit in the face with golf clubs. I've been ran over twice. I've had guns pointed at me. My ex-wife tried to kill me numerous times. Um, and it's still, for some reason, and appendicitis wouldn't kill me. And I'll tell you how bad appendicitis is. If you guys ever get that, it felt like somebody's ripping my nuts through my throat. And for me to talk like this and crawl to my wife, because I literally woke up, it's like I woke up, I felt good. I'm like, dude, I hadn't been able to move for 2 days. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I woke up and I started crawling on my balls started feeling like I was getting them ripped out, dude. I thought it was about to burst. I was crawling on the ground like, you got to take me to the hospital. And that doesn't happen. So I had that taken out. And yeah, that hurt like a motherfucker, dude. So I know how it is, but you guys I could never deal with that, man. You know what? I was a dialysis technician. That was my first reuse technician. So I had to deal with people. I've seen people die in front of me. That was my first experience with real life. When I was 18 and a half, I was talking to a patient and I was putting the saline bags on, and I put them up, and she flatlined right there. I saw somebody die that I known for a while. She was there for about a year, and I was talking to her. It would go by. There's a bunch of patients, and I would talk to them, and they're gone. And you get to know them, and then like the next couple weeks, you'll go in there. What's the name? He died. And then I went to college, and I went and did my test and passed, and I became a dialysis technician. Old boy was. I had to teach myself everything, guys. When I graduated high school, I didn't know shit. They basically just graduated me. I had to learn everything. I had to learn to read. I had to do everything. Um, I had to learn a very lesson in my life that I had to learn how to survive in the way I can learn how to survive, and I did it. I did it very well. Um, Look at me now. Like he was saying, he was a poor mountain man. It was a foreman. I was a fucking nobody, dude. It worked. Had a regular job, and I was single. Everybody. I went through a horrible marriage. And stuff bad happened to me in my life, and I was nobody. I wasn't doing nothing in my life. There about 10 years ago, there was things I was thinking about, and I almost did, and I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't do that. Um, because there was a lot of darkness that I had. That's why it takes a lot of skin to be a kind of person like me, you, and him. Like you said, you're born to do something. I was born to do this show. I was born to be a paranormal investigator, and I am one of the best paranormal investigators in the world, and he's one of the best voices in paranormal investigators in the world, because we don't take shit, we don't lie, and we're not Zach Baggins. That's that's the biggest rule. But the questions I have, brother, is when you were talking about paranormal. So did you start doing paranormal when you were on the reservation, or did that's how you got involved, Chris? Did you that was the first question I was going to ask you, like, because you guys were talking about paranormal. Did you guys start getting into the then? Is that when you got into? Because I know you're a fan of paranormal and you're a fan of our show, and that's why I was going to ask you that question, if you don't mind, brother.
No, I don't mind the question at all. So actually, how I got invested into the paranormal is because where I live, like in my room right now, my closet that's behind me. If I let me just take my background off real quick. How do you take the background off? Okay, so this closet right there behind me is I actually have a spirit and an actual spirit in there. And get back. Oh, wait, there, wait, where am I? Okay, there I am. Okay, so in that closet is actually a little boy, a spirit of a little boy that's in there. All right, and if the closet door is open, he comes out, and he likes to be mischievous, from time to time. When I was a little kid growing up, I would always talk to him. My brother and I, we would always have a conversation with him. Like we'd just sit there and we'd be talking to him. And our parents thought that, oh, they have an imaginary friend, that they're talking to. And no, it's not an imaginary friend. It's actually a spirit. And like right now, he's like I can feel him, like he wants to come out and he wants to make himself known, but I'm like, no, not right now. This is not the time or place. And the only way that I know, he actually died in this room. He was locked in this room because the door to my room is closed, and on the outside there's four little holes that were drilled, like when you can lock something like on the outside. So, and no matter what I've done to patch it up, smooth it out, paint over it, to hide it, it still comes through no matter what. So it's just like, so this room's got energy in it that that it's just like it doesn't let things go. So I got invested in it. So that's when that was my first experience with the paranormal. And ever since then, I've been interested in the paranormal, and I've always wanted to go, like, do paranormal, like go on, not so much as ghost hunts, but like go to different areas and do like investigations, paranormal investigations, because that's one of those things that I would love to do and start getting into and learn more about. So yeah, that's how I got invested into the paranormal. And and of course I can sense ghosts or spirits, and I can see them just depending, like where, like how still my mind is. Because a lot of times, if my mind is chaotic and I've got a lot of things going on, I can feel them, but I can't see them. But if I calm myself down and I calm my mind, I'm able to see them, and I can actually have a conversation with them.
Well, thank you, brother. And that's very interesting because one of the first things I ever was able to do is I could see things. I'll tell you a story in Pennsylvania. I was in a cornfield with my rural father. One of the only things I remember of him. Um, Hopefully he's burning. Other than that, but we were walking by and there was this house we would go in. It was like a 3-story house. Maybe it was like a business at one time because they had stuff, comic books, they had all, but it was abandoned. It was weird. It was like a weird, maybe it was a business in a house. We would go in this house all the time and no one would go down in the attic because in the cellars and stuff in Pennsylvania you have it because of hurricane tornadoes. So one night, I don't know why my aunt was there for some reason. She was dating somebody, I guess, living by my real father, and we were walking by and we heard somebody in this house. So you could get out. There's broken doors, and you could hear them like fucking around. There was like 1 or 2 people, and then we heard him scream, and nothing happened. The fucking whole place turned on fire. It was weird. I remember that. And then like they couldn't find anybody. They all didn't want to go in that cellar. I guess they did, and they said they couldn't see nothing. Even with the lights, back then it was 83, 82, and they didn't have the equipment they had now, and they saw they didn't see nothing. We went in there, they never found anybody, but we went in there like a couple days later and it was burnt and everything, and the pictures didn't burn. What was weird They had pictures on the ground, like regular those Polaroid pictures that you could see, and you have to go like this a long fucking time ago. You remember that, guys, back in our day, and it came out, it came out good. Those were half burnt, but you could smell something in the attic. My dad's will go down there. I'm like, fuck. I was like 4. I'm like, fuck no. And they never found anything. We couldn't explain it, but I knew there was something in there with that guy. I could feel it. It was real weird. It was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever dealt with in my life. That was something and I was like 3 or 4 and I still remember that. And that was crazy. I remember some things that I can't explain. I used to have this feeling that something would watch me all the time since I was a kid. Watch me all the time. My mom walked in one time and she's all, "Who's that? Hey," and she's all, and then she said it disappeared. It was something standing behind me, watching me. I don't know what it was. Whatever. But that's how I first got into paranormal, and now look at me now. But that was some of the weirdest things I've ever had to deal with. Another thing is, when you guys were talking about your call center, what, Chris, is the worst, other than what you said? What would you say is the worst experience you've had, or the weirdest? You guys were talking about the worst. What is the weirdest experience you ever had? Weirdest.
Well, like I said, I think the weirdest one was when I was working. Like I said earlier, when I was working for a call center that we had a contract with DirecTV, and the weirdest call that I got was a couple fucking each other. And the guy called in ordering a pay-per-view. That is like the weirdest thing, because it's just like you hear people talk about this stuff, and you're like, okay, well, that's never going to happen to me. What are the chances that it's going to happen? And I'm just like, and so I was like, it's never going to happen. Sure. Next thing you know, no sooner am I out there, like about 2-3 weeks after I get out of training, do I get that call, and I'm just like, I'm like, oh my fucking God, why is this happening? Why do I need to hear this? It's like, I'm not here to listen to this. I'm here just to do my job, make my money, pay my bills, and go home, And I was just like, damn. But I was like, okay, I understand, people have all people have their vices, that just get a hold of them and they can't let go of. And so that was pretty much my weirdest experience. Other than that, everything else has just been pretty much normal. People cussing me out, hanging up on me, just the normal.
Okay. Here's one. I'm gonna kind of flip the script and throw a controversial question out here. Were you a Christian first, or were you a pagan first? Because you believe in both beliefs, so that's why I'm asking. Other than that, no, I don't. I just did you become a Christian first, or did you were into Norse, or did you just believe in both? Did you just get into both of them? That's the question I'm trying to ask in my way.
Okay, so pretty much when I was a kid, and of course, going through school, when you learn about history, they teach you about the Norse. Well, they don't say Norse; they say Vikings, which back then they didn't understand that Viking isn't a race; it's actually a job description or a job title. So I got enamored with the Norse culture back then, and of course, when you're studying like Norse and Greek mythology, you learn about the different gods and goddesses, and then you have those certain gods or goddesses that you're just like you get drawn to, and so that started like my journey for Norse. But I became a Christian when I got into high school. Now, of course, as I've shared before, back then I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. I started smoking weed when I was like 9 or 10. I started off smoking weed, and that was in 4th grade. One of my best friends, we skipped school during lunchtime. We went to his house. So we went to his house and we started smoking weed. The following year, he introduced me to cocaine. So I got introduced. So and then after that, then I just started spiraling into like all the harder drugs. And then by the time I hit high school, I was already shooting up black tar heroin. I was dropping acid, LSD. Like I was doing it all. Of course, I I I became a Christian my freshman year. But of course, I wasn't really walking right at the time, because I was still beholden to like what, my life and what I'm doing, what I wanted to do, and just like you in high school, how I made it to graduation, I don't know, because I was one of the worst students. And it was just like, I had to do like, in order to get out of my freshman and sophomore year, they had this thing called credit by exam. So after school, you'd have to go to a tutoring session, and you'd have to, for like whatever course you failed, and of course you'd have to go through the whole thing, take a test, and then of course you'd get the credit for it. So that's how I made it through my freshman and sophomore year, because all my grades were nothing but 50s and 60s. So the only way I passed was I had to do credit by exam, and it cost my parents a lot of money. And back then, I mean, I don't come from a well-off family. I don't we didn't come from money. So for my parents to like, make the sacrifice for me to do that, you know, took it kind of hurt me. So it got to me. So when I started my junior year, even though I was still a drug addict and alcoholic, I decided to turn to get to do better. But of course, I was still skipping classes. So the only way I was able to graduate was I had people do my work for me. I had ex-girlfriends that would do my work. I would have friends, whenever they would do roll call, they would answer for me that I was there. So that's how I made it through graduation. Made it to graduation from high school. Otherwise, I would have been a dropout. I would have gotten my GED, but because of that, I was able to get my diploma and graduate. I flunked out of college because I wasn't ready for college, and so of course I was still I still wasn't walking right with God. I was still doing my thing, and I finally gave up the drugs and alcohol when my oldest son came up to me one day. I had just gotten, and it's no secret. Like even when I would work, I would be drunk, and I would be drunk and high at the same time while working. And I had gotten home and I started drinking. And my son came up to me and he goes, "Daddy, do you love your drugs? Do you love what you're doing more than you love me?" And I'm a guy, I don't show emotions. I never break down. I keep all my emotions inside. I will never show them whatsoever. But that day I broke down like a little bitch and I started crying. I hugged my son. I was like, "No, son, I love you more than what I'm doing." So that day, I got rid of everything. It was the hardest 2-3 months, quitting cold turkey, drying out. I turned into the biggest asshole, because my body was going through the withdrawals. And, so from that point on, I started, focusing on Christianity, but I was also going to church. So of course I was still learning, studying. But then, just about 9 years ago, like it, like just, I had a very strong calling into the Norse, uh, and next thing I know, I jump on TikTok and I come across uh, Dragon doing one of his lives, and he's talking about it, and I'm just like, Dragon of Tyr, okay. And so I sit and I watch his lives, on the outside, and then I'm just like, well, you know what? Let me jump in there and just ask some questions. So I started asking questions, and then the next thing you know, when it was Tears Vikings clan, that's when I joined and started getting really heavy into the Norse culture, and that's when I started learning about it. Uh, but yeah, so I've been doing Christianity and Norse, and then of course Native American, like studying, like a little bit of shamanism, like just learning that, and then of course, like also becoming a medicine man and everything. So yeah.
Awesome. That was a good response, bro. I'm actually glad you did that because you brought all three of them in. Um, so I get it now. My questions are pretty much answered. Um, that's all I had to really say. I really don't have a lot to say right now. Just that's how I am. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Because on staring in the abyss, he'll go on for about an hour, and then I'll go about 45 minutes, and then we'll start talking about something, and we'll fucking go off on. We're like, oh, there's a giant fucking fuck you ship coming. Wait a minute, there was pugwudgies found in the rainforest here. What would you do and fight those little motherfuckers? Then we'll get in a whole nother fucker, get pissed off about that, and talk about how we're gonna get. And then Baggins will come up, and then we'll really go on them. They hate us because we have our opinion on that guy. That's just, we'll leave it alone. He gets enough bullshit. So we'll say that's a whole nother story. Maybe if we ever bring you on staring, because I know you're on paranormal, you're a big paranormal fan, and you do stuff with magic and stuff like that. That would be cool. Like I said, we've had Dragon on. He was cool. Talked about his two wives. A lot of people don't have that life. That was a whole. If you guys ever want to see those shows, one James wasn't able to make it. He got sick. We had Andy there, and he was talking about the fight that night. But the first night I had him on, he said Einar. He brought Einar's name in that night. I remember that. He said it. That was his brother. So I've decided I'll get Einar. He's a little bit different than Dragon. He has a little bit different demeanor. You're like, it's just like me and James is the, like everybody says, the angel and the devil. And James, I'm not no angel. I know that, but I mean, in reality, that's the fucking truth. I really am. But I mean, it works just like them two. The Dragon does not hold back and fucking says whatever he wants and does what he wants. And he's really, I mean, he's no pushover, but he's really nice. And his show lives are Fridays. He listens to 80s music and 90s, and we all kick it in there and dance and have a good time. He's just a very chill person. If you get this man mad, then you did something wrong, because both of them are really good people. But yeah, Einar's one of those guys. He's a sweet guy. You piss him off just like James. He's a lovable guy, but he'll kill you. Um, Now I'm a whole different story, but other than that, I'm done. And go ahead, James. You have anything to say to him?
I think what we ought to do for the end of this show is kind of flip it to where if you have any questions for either one of us, Chris, at the end of the show here, feel free. You can ask us pretty much whatever you want. It doesn't matter. I'm not shy about anything, and Old Boy isn't either. So anything, Old Boy said that you're a fan of the shows, you've watched them for a while and all that kind of stuff. So is there anything that you'd like to know? Any questions that you have?
Yeah, so this question actually goes out to both of y'all. So when y'all have done paranormal investigations, what is like the oh my gosh, how am I trying to say this without sounding like so ignorant and not knowing? Because like I said, I'm whole new, like I'm trying to learn and getting into the whole paranormal investigation. What is like the most like bizarre experience y'all have had doing an investigation? That's what I want to know.
First, let me preface this by saying that I deal in almost exclusively demonic cases. So, in order for me to be involved with something, it's already way past the level of a normal case. I'm the guy they call to come in when families are being attacked, kids are being attacked, and they need like exorcisms done, they need house cleansings done. That I come in when the shit's hit the fan. You know what I mean? So if you see me coming, then you know something really bad's going down. If I'm there, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much what I do. My specialty is casting out demons, working demonic cases, and I do something called emotional and spiritual healing. And that's not some like weird new agey bullshit. Basically, what it is, it's almost like therapy. You go in and you talk about. Before I go through the spiel on that, let me kind of break it down a little bit better for everybody listening and for you, for people that aren't familiar. The reason why the emotional and spiritual healing is so important, and anybody that's involved in a paranormal that has TV shows and all that kind of stuff, if they don't do this, they're full of crap. You know what I mean? They don't. If they're not doing this, they don't know what they're doing. Okay? The reason this is important is because what happens is you have traumas in your life. Everybody goes through traumas. And what the trauma does is it actually makes a wound in the soul. Okay? That wound in the soul is what demons attach to. And the reason they're able to attach to that wound in the soul is because of negative emotions that are associated with that trauma, with that wound. Okay? They feed on those negative emotions. So if you go through something, you have whatever the trauma is, sexual assault, or you get beat down, or somebody you love gets killed, or whatever it is, right? Whatever the trauma, the horrible thing that you went through is. And most of us have a ton of them in our lives. That will elicit negative emotions in you. So you'll have fear, you'll have hopelessness, you'll have jealousy, you'll have anger, rage, all those kind of things, right? Those emotions are what the demons feed on. That's what they can attach to. Okay? So what emotional and spiritual healing is, in a nutshell, is you're doing a counseling session with people. And you're not putting them into hypnosis. There's no wah-wah bull crap, right? You're just sitting down and you're talking to them. And you have them go back to that place in their mind, right? Try to put themselves mentally there again in that trauma. And you discuss it with that person. They tell you what happened, what's going on, how it makes them feel, what the emotions are that they feel. Okay? Then you take those emotions and you have those people turn those emotions over to Jesus and have him take them away from them, right? And we'll go into great detail on it. And it takes a long time sometimes. And then at the end of the session, we'll stop and we'll just start cutting up. And that's where me being a goofy bastard comes in handy, because I'll make them laugh and goof off with them and have fun. You know what I mean? And then after they've calmed down and they're in a totally good state of mind again, where they're having fun and laughing, then we say, okay, we're going to go back again and we're going to do this again. And you go back through the trauma again and walk them through it again. Okay, now what do you feel? What emotions are you feeling? You know, a lot of times once you've handed those emotions over to Jesus and he takes them away for you, you don't feel them anymore. But then there might be new emotions that you feel. Now I don't feel fear, but I feel a little apprehension. Or I don't feel fear, now I feel anger. You know what I mean? So the emotions will change. So you keep going through it over and over and over again until you get all of those emotions cleared away to where that person can go back to that event and they don't feel that stuff anymore, right? Then once that's done, you lead them in prayer. You ask Jesus to heal the wound in their soul, and you cast out any demons associated with that trauma. And you go through and you do that with every single trauma that's happened that they can remember. You know what I mean? So some of these sessions last years, you know, where you're going back through all these different traumas and you're in contact with these people long term, you know, and that's what it takes. People think that it's like the movies where you go in and you just cast something out and you leave. You know, that's not the way it works at all. You're not in real life. In real life, it's a struggle. In real life, you're talking to those people for months and months and months or years, and you're dealing with this stuff for a long time, and you're helping them through it. You know, some of the weirdest, the scariest, or whatever it is that you want to know, like that cases. We had one that was pretty much by accident. You know, we were set to do a certain case, and the people that we were supposed to meet up with backed out. And I already had everybody there. We had all the cameras, we had everything, all the equipment, everything was ready. And they backed out. So I thought, well, we got to do something. We got all this stuff, you know, what are we going to do? So Andy, who Old Boy was talking about earlier, he said, hey, I know a place we can go, man. This really horrible place where a murder happened. A murder-suicide happened back in the 50s. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And then so I said, well, let's go there. So we're driving there, and he's filling me in on the story. And the story was this guy kind of had a screw loose, wasn't all together there. He was obsessed with this woman, just madly, madly in love with her. And he was the kind of guy that would never kind of go up and talk to you because he was shy and kind of awkward as hell and maybe half retarded. I don't know, but he just wasn't right? And he was obsessed with this woman, and he would watch her all the time. But she had no idea. So she's in town one day with her little girl daughter, and he comes up and grabs them, throws them in his truck, and takes off, takes them up to the mountain. He spends 3 days assaulting them in the worst possible ways you can imagine. You know, he's sexually assaulting these women. He ends up cutting the woman's breasts off and doing horrible things to her, doing horrible things to the daughter. Okay, and I don't want to go into super detail because we'll get demonetized and kicked off and all that. But you know what was going on there for 3 days. Finally, ends up killing them when the police arrive, because the police figure out where he went. She's been missing. Everybody's freaking out. Somebody said we saw him grab him. They've been looking for him. They finally figure out he's up here in the woods. They go up there. He hears the cars coming, hears the sirens. He finishes the woman and her daughter off. Then he gets in a shootout with the police and gets killed, right? This is the backstory. This is what happened there, right? Now keep in mind, I'm not supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be working a case. But those people backed out. Just the luck of having Andy with me that day, and he knew of the place that we ended up there. So we go there, we set up the equipment, we start doing some spirit box work and everything. And we find out, and this is all on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. It's on the playlist Tales from the Abyss, is the video to this. It's the video that talks about Middletown, Virginia, a woman and her child in Middletown, Virginia. That's the video. Okay, this is an episode of the TV show that we did, and I'm gonna tell you a story to it. And we end up finding out through the spirit box work that not only is the guy still there, but the mom and the kid are still there. Their spirits are still there. And he is doing all of that stuff that he did when they were at the end of their life every night to them. They are reliving that every night since the 1950s, right? So they are asking for help. And he gets on the spirit box and is telling them that they belong to him, right? And so basically, I got on there and I backed him down in Jesus' name. I helped them cross over and get free. When that happens, and this is on video, you can go and watch it yourself. You can see this happen. When they get free, he rages. And you start hearing these inhuman screams coming from the woods all around us. And I'm not lying to you, it started raining rocks. Like stones started falling and hitting the car, hitting us, and it's on video. I'm filming them falling, right, as it's happening. And then we had like these little dust devil tornadoes that were blowing up in the middle of the road for no reason. And then all of a sudden, all of our equipment, all of our batteries die like that. That happened at the end of the episode. So that's how the episode ends, right, on YouTube, because we couldn't film anymore because all the batteries died at once. But here's what happened after that. After that happened, I ended up doing not a full exorcism, but like a mini little exorcism, casting him out and quieting him down, right, to where there wasn't anything else going on. So once there was nothing else going on, I wasn't getting no more responses from him, and he was cool. Then we ended up leaving because we didn't have any way to film or anything like that anymore because everything died. But that probably was the wildest episode that we ever did as a TV show, and one of the wildest experiences I've ever had. The other one I would tell you is I was working a case once where I wasn't the guy doing the exorcism. This was back early. I told you I kind of cut my teeth working with the Cherokee on their hunts. For those that don't know, the native people are big time into the paranormal. They deal with elementals. They deal with all kinds of stuff that's major league stuff. Okay, so I had some really good teachers, but I had started working with the church as well. And so my job, because I'm 6'5", 300 pounds, I'm a big, solid redneck guy, right? My job was to make sure that nothing happened to the exorcist when he did his job, right? So we're working this case, and the exorcist is doing an exorcism. And it's pretty uneventful for the most part, right? My job is just to make sure that the guy in the chair doesn't jump up and attack the priest. If he tries, my job is to grab his ass and make sure he sits back down in that chair, right? So I'm watching the guy, and I'm expecting if anything's going to happen, it's going to be him jumping up. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the front door burst open. Somebody kicks open the door and comes running at the priest with a knife in his hand, like a crazy person, right? I spin around, and I'm face to face with a knife, like a couple feet away from me. So the dude, like, flings a knife like this, tries to stab me. I grab him and put him through the damn wall, like the drywall, into the wall. And the guy finished the exorcism. I took care of the guy with the knife, held him down until then. They called the cops. The cops came and got the guy. When the guy did his interview with the police, he said he had no idea why he came into that house and attacked him. That he felt like he wasn't in control. He was just walking down the street, and next thing he knows, he's inside of a wall. That he has no memory of what happened. And that was kind of a crazy case too. And that's one thing that people don't understand. And Old Boy has said it before on shows we've done, but sometimes he's not the best at conveying the meaning behind an idea. He'll kind of skip here and there. But he says that even if you're a Christian and they can't attack you directly because you have the Holy Spirit in you, so they can't possess you or test you, but they can use other people to physically attack you. And that's what happened that night. Is the demon that we were trying to cast out grabbed somebody on the street and influenced them to rush in and try to kill us. You know, and the only thing that saved that exorcist's life, because he was a tiny little fella. He was not a fighter at all. He was like a little book nerd, right? The only thing that saved him was he had a giant redneck looking over his shoulder. You know what I mean? I hold a master rank in Sancho Kung Fu. I've fought competitively. I'm a bad man, right? So he had a bad man protecting him. And at that time, you know, I was a Christian at that time, but I was still a very rough person at that time. You know what I mean? As far as fighting and stuff like that, I would hurt you. And I think the reason I had to go through that was to do what God wanted me to do in that particular situation. You know what I mean? Now, I died later in my life and came back, and that completely changed the person I am and how I am. And thank God. You know, I always joke that God had to kill me to bring him back to me. To bring me back to him, because I'm so stubborn and stupid sometimes. You know what I mean? But that would probably be, for me, the craziest cases that I've ever worked.
The craziest cases I worked in, you got to realize, just like him, I'm one of the most controversial there is. If you call one of us, there's something going on. We get told by people who are experts and people who do stuff that most people won't even touch. They'll call us because they don't want to deal with it. I've gone in a cellar where people were murdered and sacrificed and dead bodies were put, and there was supposed to be, no, there's no one that could ever go in there for 15 minutes. I went in there blindfolded for 20 minutes, and you could see stuff going by me. It just doesn't bother me. I'm made for this. But so is he. But like I've said in the past, just because you're protected by God doesn't mean the devil can't get you. He'll just have somebody else come at you like he just told you. Yeah, sometimes my mind works as I have ADHD and I switch, and that's just how I am. And then I'll come back to what I was talking about. But that's the truth. They can come after you. Now, one of the most craziest paranormal investigations I've ever done, when I was helping that guy, Don. That's one of them, because Don was a famous racer. He raced motorcycles. He flew planes. He didn't believe in anything. Don was a nice guy, sweet gentleman. Never did anything, never believed anything. I get this crazy lady that had a bird in Pennsylvania. I'm not going to say nothing about this lady. We tried to help her too, but it was impossible. She just was too much. So, but I helped Dawn because she told me Dawn needed help, and all these people helped him, and they just took his money and couldn't do anything. Even somebody knew Baggins took $2,500 from the guy, and he was a known psychic. These wonderful psychic, but you could buy my book for $19.99. I'm like, you fucking serious? That's what he told you? I never called him again. So the first day I get there, he lives in this back house with his friend. And I guess he just moved, so he's got a new place now. But you go in there, and I'm like, not too bad. It has a fireplace, and he lives in Long Beach, so it's fucking, even a little hut there's $3,000. It's I'm sitting there, I don't see nothing, don't feel nothing. I'm like, he started telling me about these snake-like creatures that would fucking touch him in weird ways and try to molest him. So I see them, they're laying on the fucking bed with that they both have the imprints of a snake. And they look like they're 6 feet long, like a human. So he wasn't lying. They had spikes, so they would wrap around, and they were succubus and incubus. That's what I was dealing with, guys. They're real. They didn't like me. I'm very different. I have something with me They all know it. Even James will tell you. JC sees it. And whatever's in me, they didn't like it. They listened though, but it took a while. I remember calling him at 12 o'clock in the morning because he said something was touching his leg and trying to grab his balls. And I don't want to be any thicker than that, but that's the shit that I had to deal with this man. And I'm a good investigator, but this was a new one to me, having ghost molest somebody like that. That was different, and that's something I had to deal with. And it still barely touches him just to point, but he had something else happen. I think it's something else. There was people who got her husband or boyfriend killed himself and killed her girlfriend. I didn't know this, and he didn't know it till after, but he moved, so I haven't heard nothing. He said he's doing all right, but he wanted to kill himself, and he was a good guy, man. He made planes. He was fucking smart like James. James is a Mecha student, one of the smartest people in the world, but he was too. He fucking flew planes and fucking built race cars and all kinds of shit. He knew Jay Leno. He's friends with him. He has pictures of him. Never believed in this shit. And this shit started happening. So I wanted to kill myself, man, to get relief. He said I'd be in the shower. They'd be starting to fuck me. Trying to. Like, we would speed. I'm going to get into it like that. And it didn't, but he tried. That should tell you, like, the entity in the 80s, that's what I was dealing with. That was a new case for us. That one I did myself. I didn't even have him in it. That's the only time I get it into it is something and I can't do it, he can. But in some situations I can do it and he can't, because it's just different stuff. I do believe that people believe in what they believe in. It works for some reason, and I can prove that. But he didn't believe in anything, so what I did for him, it worked. Now, when we went to these people's in Long Beach, remember the one in Anaheim, he actually had to help me with this one. This house was just raked with negativity. And then not only that, one of the paranormal investigators, he's not a bad guy. He's a good ghost hunter, like doing buildings and stuff, but there's a difference of investigator and a hunter. I'm a motherfucking investigator. I work with people. Some people don't know how to deal with people. He made the situation a little worse. So we had to get this thing out. The dad was an asshole too. He come home and I think it was some of him. He would be out there talking shit, drinking. So I think he brought the negativity. So that was one thing I could never 100% get away. But the guy, Chris, they broke up and he moved to Indianapolis, and I'm still helping Chris because he got married, and the lady he was with some idiot, and like he passed away, and his ghost was doing stuff to her. So I just had to help with that just recently. And he called me about something else, and I forgot to call him back because I'm a very busy person. And that's a case that I want to still work on. I don't know what's going on with Chris. I forgot. I know it's nothing to do with the case I was working with in Anaheim. But those cases were bad because they were dealing with children. I remember I went into the room and something touched me, and it kept fucking with the children. Now, I know some of it was exaggerated. Come to find out, even Chris admitted it wasn't him, but his girlfriend kind of, he said that he kind of thought she was overdoing it. So we helped him, but we had to walk away from it. He got helped, and he took off, and he changed his life for the best. He went and got remarried. He was a Christian then, though. So, but he still deals with stuff. And I think some of that, whatever was with him there, came. And wherever he moved, he came. I think there's just stuff that's attracted to him. He has a gift, and he's starting to realize that. And there's other cases like we've worked in Redlands when people are talking, and he got his back scratched running his mouth. And then you just see like our meeting with in the name of Lord, and then you just see like you take a picture and there's ghosts surrounding us, bro. We were in Redlands, is one of the most haunted places in Southern California, and it did not like JC for some reason. It did not like my camera guy. It was attacking my camera guy. I remember one time JC was doing some shit in Victorville, and they threw him off his ass, and I started like, the Wraith was gonna kick it. He was trying to kill him. There's a Wraith in Victorville that talks shit about James Hershey's never even been there. And the crazy thing about this place in Victorville, Edgar Allan Poe used to go there back in the day. It was one of his favorite places. So it explains it. Now it's a cemetery, but there's like a hill, and I see his ass get thrown. I'm like, yeah, the fucking thing threw him, dude. It didn't like him. The Wraith called James Hershey out and said, he can the call's gonna end in 15 minutes, but he can kiss my ass. Fuck James. And James is getting so pissed that he was listening to me. I'm about to fly out there and kick this Wraith's ass. If you guys know what a Wraith is, a necromancer could have probably this thing is just does what it wants. And me and him have gone back and forth on that. That especially James has gone out. It's attacked people. It's made people sick. It's changed people. That Rafe is still there. It fucked with a lot of people we know there, and it's not as bad anymore because when it sees us, it fucking doesn't bother us no more. I've got pictures of the man in the hat at that fucking place. I've had talked to some of the main demons you can ever talk to, and they were not good. Especially Beelzebub. Azazel is another one that we usually get. And Lucifer, of course. Beelzebub is no joke. Asmodeus is no joke. We deal with him too, and he's absolutely nothing you want to play with. Like I said, people realize this is going to kill you one day. It's slowly killing me and him. That's why people see me rocking and shit. It's because of the shit I've dealt with. It's not. It fucking kills you. It will kill us one day. It's slowly right now. I get attacked at my house. He gets attacked. They tried to kill him. They fucking down that bee shit never happens. He got attacked by bees out of fucking nowhere. It was after a case he was dealing with. They were trying to kill him. That's what I said. They can get you without doing anything spiritual. They can get animals to kill you. They can get a dog to attack you. They can get a man to take you out that doesn't believe. That's what I tried to tell people. And they can get bees to swarm him. Bees fucked and almost killed him. And he hasn't been the same ever since. So yeah, that's the shit you get when you get into paranormal that I try to tell people. This is no fucking joke. This is something that you're going to deal with people and you're trying to help people. And then you have prima donnas. Some people we've had to kick off and we see on TV, it's doing all this shit and these people don't get help. And then they end up having bad shit happen, killing themselves or worse, getting turned into something where they go and kill somebody. And we could have helped these people, but nope. You have motherfuckers out there dancing around going, I was looking at my camera guy, and all of a sudden I felt like choking him, but I hit myself in the face. I locked myself up in a haunted house, and I wanted to choke everybody, but I choked myself, and I passed out for 6 hours, and I woke up. And if you know who I was talking about, you already know. If you're a ghost investigator, you know who I'm talking about on that one. That's bullshit. I have never fucking stopped an investigation and said, lady, you need to stop for a minute because we have to get you to smile a certain way and you got to go by the script. I will tell you this right now. Every investigation I have done, I've done for free. We don't, unless if it's like thousands of miles, oh, hey, we got to get a ticket, but I don't want you to give me any money. I'm not looking to save people for money. I could have been famous. We are our own way. The reason we're not on TV shows and they're talking about it right now, even though we're controversial, is because we will not lie to motherfucking people. And we're not liars. And he's not a liar. And we want to help people. And some of the shit that we deal with is not, I wouldn't bring anybody into that because it's not something like going and talking to a building where, hey, what is this thing doing? Who's watching me? You don't have nothing to worry. And something could attach you there. It's just as bad. But when you're dealing with 80-year-old woman in Apple Valley that was scared for her life because somebody that ghost already killed somebody already in the house she was living in and told her that it was going to kill her. I saved her life. And people think I'm lying. I've had people, and they even write it that I have. I don't lie. He has saved people's life. We've lost people. And I take my craft very serious. So does he. And when we do certain stuff, most of the shit we're doing is crazy, bro, that most people won't fucking do. And Andy is really good. And he was with the guy from Jason from Ghost Hunters, one of the biggest names in ghost taps. He went in there like us, like it's no day. And they're like, Mom, that's a fucking rough area where you're going. Okay. You get your point? It don't scare me or him. That me and him are running it. Like you see this one fucking, he was in Saudi Arabia, is walking around. He said this basketball is fucking ghost threw it at him and started throwing shit, I would have fucking grabbed that ball and threw it right at the fucking ghost's face, dude. That's just how I am. But and he's the same way. Like the ghost fucking coming after him, like with the fan and shit. The fan ghost fucked with him too. They try to kill him, dude. Like there's no joke. They've tried to fucking kill him with a fan. They don't play around, bro. This is the shit that we deal with. Now you guys, I know always hears my stories. Now he sees the truth. I really am, and him, one of the best you can in this kind of era of what we do. There's not a lot of people who do what we do. And I like to help people, and I don't care about money. But most of our cases, I hate to say it, are very crazy. And it's like hard to pick one because we have so many. Like literally, we've had shit try to kill us. I've had people try to kill me. I've had people threaten to rape me. He's exactly right. There's a price to everything, and what we deal with. And I'm still dealing with this case. I'm gonna get another one coming soon, and it is what it is, bro. It's what we're doing, and we are what we're meant to do. And if it takes us out, it takes me and him out. That being said, I see the show starting to get a little, we're about 45, 50 minutes in. I want to thank Chris for coming on the show. If you have anybody you want to shout out to or anybody you want to say thanks to, and you go ahead right now, brother, you're welcome to.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for sharing that with me. And I hope one of these days that I get to go on an investigation or on a case with y'all. That would be amazing to like get my feet wet and just get introduced into paranormal investigation. I'm really not so much into the ghost hunting, but I'm more into like the investigation and like solving things and getting things done. But I just want to give a shout out to both of y'all. Y'all are amazing. Y'all have some amazing. Y'all come from amazing backgrounds. Going through life and everything. And so, just thank you very much for sharing that with me and allowing me to be here. I just want to give a shout out to everybody out there that's watching this show. Thank y'all for tuning in and watching here and being here with us. And it's really a humbling experience to be a part of something, to actually come onto a show like this, and actually be a part of something great, and I hope in the future, like, sometime later on, I'd like to come back on the show and talk some more with y'all and, and talk about other things as well.
We appreciate you coming on, man. It was a good conversation. It was fun. It was great to meet you. To wrap this up, I think what I'd like to say is the reason why I'm still here, the reason why I'm not dead. I mean, old boy said the truth. They've tried to kill me many, many times, and I want everybody out there listening to understand the reason that I'm not dead, the reason that I can take these demons on and that I can cast them out isn't because I'm a badass. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. It's not my power at all. I'm not a superhero. I'm a normal person. Under my own power, my flesh and blood power, I would get squished like a grape in no time flat. God is what does the heavy lifting. God is what casts these people out. God is what takes care of the demons. God is what takes care of the spirits. God is what does it all. And if it's not for the protection of the Holy Spirit being sealed inside of me, I would be screwed. You know what I mean? And that's so important for everybody to understand, because you got young people that want to get into this field and want to do this job. And what I would say is, don't get into this unless you're called to get into this. If God's not calling you to do it, this will destroy you. It will destroy your family. It will hurt you. It always ends the same way. It almost always ends bloody for one of us. You know what I mean? And we've been bloodied up many times. And even under the best of circumstances, for like a couple weeks before an investigation, all hell breaks loose. You get flat tires, all kinds of horrible stuff happens, you get sick. I mean, these things mess with you constantly. And when we say spiritual warfare, that's because that's exactly what it is. It's warfare. You know, you got to be not only a special kind of person to do this kind of work, but you got to have that calling on your life. Because if it's not God's will for you to do this, then you're not going to have God's protection to do this. And if you don't have God's protection, you're screwed. You know what I mean? Because even with God, man, it's not easy. You know, I mean, like old boy said, we've lost people. You know, that case that the guy died was horrible. You know, and I to this day that case haunts me. You know, I think about that all the time. That what if I could have done something to save that guy? You know, he chose it. He didn't want the help. I understand. I saved his daughter. I saved his wife. They're okay. They're free. The daughter kept trying to kill herself. She got locked up in a loony bin. It was a horrible, horrible case. I saved them. I couldn't save him. You know, he lost. And he's dead now because of it. And that haunts me to this day. It bothers me. Even though I know there's nothing more I could have done. I did everything possible. But it haunts you, man. The losses haunt you. The victories are great. I love saving people. I love helping people. It's wonderful. But as good as the wins are, the losses never go away. You know, and that's what you wake up at night thinking about is the people that you failed. You know, because at the end of the day, man, I'm just a sinner. You know, I'm just a sinner saved by God's grace and his love for me. And I'm not worthy of any of this. You know, and it's, you gotta be so careful, man, because it can all end like that, you know, and what we do is scary as hell sometimes. You know, old boy says we're not afraid of these things. It's not that I'm not afraid. That's not true. It's that even though I'm afraid, I still go for it. And the reason I do is because it's more important to me to save the women and children. You know what I mean? It's more important to me to save those people than what happens to me. I know I'm in God's will. I'm doing what I'm called to do. So whatever the outcome of that is, I'm cool with. If it kills me, I'm fine with death. I've died before. I'm not afraid. You know, I know where I'm going. I've been there already. I'm not afraid at all to die. I don't want to leave the people I love behind. I mean, they'll be well taken care of. I've made sure of that. But I don't want to leave them because I love them. But if that's what God calls me to do, if I have to sacrifice my life to save someone else's life, then I'll make that trade if I have to, you know? And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not there, then you might want to really pray on it and make sure that this is what you want to do. Because sometimes that's the choice that has to be made. You know, I'm not to be melodramatic. I've never had to sacrifice my life, obviously, but sometimes you don't know. I mean, you go into these situations, you could die on any of these cases. People have, you know, and that's the difference between what you see on TV of the ghost shows where they go and do these things and what the job actually is. You know, what the job actually is way more dangerous, way more terrifying, and way more boring a lot of the times too, because there's a lot of waiting around where nothing's going on, you know. But when something does go on, boy, it goes on. You know what I mean? And it's dangerous, man. So I would just say, everybody, if you want to do this, make sure that this is what God wants you to do. I want to thank you for coming on, brother. I love you. I appreciate you being on here, man. And until we speak to you, everybody, again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.